Hello, my name is Anya. I am Russian Space Bunny. I am here to tell you all about Russian watch rabbit hole. It is quite a rabbit hole indeed. Oi. Well, as I was saying, oh, 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 oh shit, not again. Vanya! Vanya, что делаешь? Oh, that is better. I think we should really hand over to my degenerate English comrade Dave at Time and Nourishment. Thanks very much, Anya. Hello, comrades. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean viewers. As Anya said, the Russian watch scene is a bit of a rabbit hole, as I hope to demonstrate to you in the upcoming video. And it all really started when I wanted to buy a watch with the date displayed in Russian. Not very complicated, you'd probably think. However, well, to me, one evident candidate for finding a Russian calendar watch is the brand Slava, which means glory. So you can see that with the English translation on the in the catalogue. So you've got some interesting things too. You have the little hedgehog design on the left. You have one for Slava's centenary, which was last year, and then you've got on the right you've got a quartz one which actually has the days in Russian on a subdial. But I've sort of promised myself I'm not going to get anything that looks like an analog chronograph for the time being. Have a look at the Slava in the middle, the Jubileni, the centenary, and you might notice that the price is a little bit steep for a budget nerd like oneself. So I decided to delve in a little bit further. Here, kind of in the middle, you've got what we call the Slava TV design, with the automatic variation of the movement that they use. Again, the price is quite dizzying, so we have to delve further. Another quartz calendar watch on the left, and on the right, you've got this Slava with the automatic movement. It's a bit more reasonable than the other things. Still, let's see what can be done. In the middle of this trio, we've even got a diver version with this movement. I don't know how they're going to make that work, as you'll understand when I describe the movement to you. This is a Capitan. Although I don't think my friend Gethin Christian would consider this one as really fit for the beach. This one is what they call their fridge case, and it's done with doctors. Look at the nice vertical calendar. I think that's quite fancy, but still a little bit pricey for my taste. And their pièce de résistance is what we call the Slava tank. This one is actually made in 904 stainless steel, and that might explain the price here of 120,000 rubles, or about £1,000. So again, probably not for me. This one looks a bit more reasonable. Well, I say that, but I would have a couple of reservations about buying this watch, other than the fact that it's a better part of 400 quid. You've got the Russian Eagle at the 12 o'clock, and just above the 6 o'clock, you've got the autograph of a certain person who's well known in these parts. And well, would I want to associate myself with that? Plus the fact that the other ones I've showed you all have sapphire crystals. This one's just got a sapphire hardened mineral crystal, which I think is a bit sort of dismissive of the man himself. I don't know about you. In the end, I decided to go, well, second hand, i.e. vintage. And this is where I bought the watch that you'll see in the video. Add a couple of things. It's a very good shop. It's very friendly staff. Great big selection of old Russian and Soviet watches, and to be honest, I really wanted to buy every single thing they had. So I did try filming in the shop with my phone, but unfortunately my computer and my phone are not the best of friends at the moment. When, not if, when I do go back at some point, I will take this camera with me and I'll do a follow-up video, because they're really very good. What you can see there, that watch, it says Vremya on it, but it's based on a Raketa design, and I haven't mentioned Raketa so far. They're kind of a slightly upmarket Russian brand nowadays, based in St. Petersburg, and it's run by a British bloke. They have a boutique shop here in Moscow, but I have to put my dark glasses on every time I walk by because I can't afford to even look in the window, so there's that. But anyway, we shall continue. And here it is, on their website, marked Prodan, which means sold, because I bought it, so there we are. It does say at the bottom, so we're made in the Soviet Union, but I'll do some shots on with the microscope to bear that out. Here is our successful candidate for a Slava watch. It's a medium vintage one from 1987. As you can see, it was made in the Soviet Union, thus the SSSR in the middle of the case back, and it tells you a couple of other things. Protiv udarny balance, yeah, so it's shockproof. Not utterly sure what the other bit means, but then you've also got a number on it, and I'm not sure whether that's probably a model reference number or a serial number. Anyway, I don't know if I've mentioned yet, but the principal reason I got this model with this 2428 movement is that it gives you the day in Russian. So you've got Voskresenia, the Sunday, and the date 18th. But wait till you see how you have to change the calendar on this thing. Just barely at the bottom, you've got 26 joules above the 6, and below the 6 you might just be able to make out, yeah, Slidanov SSSR, yeah, made in the Soviet Union. So here we are, side by side. You've got the Vostok hand wind on the left with a 2409 movement, and then on the right you've got the Slava from 1987 with the 2428 hand wind only movement. So they're both Russian movements, they're both hand wind, but are there any differences? Let's have a look. If you can see that little notch, roughly it should be the top of the case actually, but it's about 11 o'clock position here, little notch. The case back doesn't have any ring or thread or anything. It's what we call a pop-off case back. But that doesn't mean it was invented by the famous Russian Professor Popov. You could Google him if you like. Now with the 2428 movement, you can see at the top of the screen this has two mainspring barrels. Now, some high-end watches have two barrels to increase a power reserve, but the objective on this one, instead of running in series to increase said power reserve, these run in parallel to improve the accuracy of the movement. I wonder how well that's worked. And here is our vintage Slava with the two barrels at the top. See, hopefully you can see those going. and you got the click there. Yeah, so that's like that. And as I said before, the double barrels are not to increase the power reserve, but to help the accuracy. Let's see. Well, with the dial down, the accuracy isn't so much double barreled as sawn off. Let's try it with the dial up. Well, it's a not dissimilar story. The amplitude's increased a bit with the dial up. Am I going to regulate it? Well, not at the moment. I think it's doing pretty well for a piece of its age. However, yes, I bought another Slava, one of the new ones. As you can see partly from the dial design. So how good is this one? Well, it hand winds, and it actually hacks. There we go. Also, yeah, well, it jumps a little bit, so it's not a perfect fit. Let's do that again. Move that out of the way. Look at that. That's not very good, is it? But also, it should have... Oh. Come on. A quick date. Yeah. Now 22, that's today's date, Thursday. So far, so not so good. Well, the accuracy is not great, but the amplitude and the beat error are perfectly alright. As you can see, it does 6 ticks per second. The other Slava does 5 ticks. You might have noticed that when I put that on the time grapher. So what kind of movement have we got in here? There you have it. One thing about other Russian watch brands, they put the caliber of the movements on with the whole reference number. So as you can see from the label, this is caliber 1612. Well, when I researched that, it turns out to be a Chinese clone of a Chinese clone, which was based on the Miyota 8215, which is a date movement. It's automatic, as you can see, and well, as you can see, the accuracy wasn't great. As we say, we have Miyota 8215s at home. For example, on my Bernie, yeah, well, two movements look fairly similar. One difference is that if you that tries to whack around, but you know, with the Miyota we know and love, yeah, whee, fidget spinner. I will say this, so it doesn't look too bad on the wrist. It's got a reasonable leather strap, a bit stiff, but still wearing it in, and it's a 22mm lug width, in case anybody wonders. Yeah, it's quite big. It's quite a chunky boy, but then so am I. So, what does it really matter? Now, what I probably haven't explained so far is the purpose of this little button on the outside of the case. Well, by the time this movement was specified by, well, the central government, they didn't have any more money to spend on getting Swiss patent licenses. So they had to come up with a uningenious solution. So what you do, get you get a pen or a bit of pegwood or something. Did this perfectly off camera. And then you got, push it in, let it out, and then you got that. Wait a minute. Ooh, yeah. Okay, 21st. However, to change the day, you're left with the old-fashioned way of doing it. And you've got to go all the way around. Ooh. Watch what happens about 11 o'clock. It turns blank. And then just before midnight, yeah, so it's Thursday the 22nd. So that's how that goes. And you just keep going around until you get the proper time on it. Good, eh? Ah, the good old days. It gets worse, comrades. Just you wait and see. Introducing the Slava Kalashnikov. Yes, it is a collaboration with the manufacturers of the automatic rifle. Oy, oy, oy. And you'll see that there are some firearms related themes in the design of the watch. For example, there I think you can see the seconds hand. it depicts the spinning flight of a bullet. Good, eh? And then you have in the middle of the dial, you have the rifling on a rifle barrel, that's why it's called a rifle. The crown has a little swivel thing on it for the sling of said Kalashnikov. Let's see. You can see the crown there replicating a swivel sling, or a sling swivel, sorry, and the lugs are meant to look like AK magazines. Whoa. You think up to now it'd be a perfect piece for a 12-year-old boy. And yes, it uses a Vostok 2416 movement. And, well, again, you think, well, okay, so far so good for a kid to have. But then you see the price of the watch. 250,000 rubles. Jeez, that's 2,000 quid. Now, this is actually the first Russian watch I ever bought, over 5 years ago now. And this nice dial, it's all printed in English. It was kind of pre-modded with that unidirectional bezel with a decent loom pip. Now, I don't know if we can see this. Might have to zoom in a bit. We can. Alright, let's see what we can do here. You can see it's got two barrels, so that might indicate some level of sophistication. However, if you know anything about Vostok movements with dates, quick date changes an alien concept. So let's see, we get 24, I don't know how well this goes. So take it to 2. You go back to you go back to all the way back to about 7 or 8 o'clock. There. And then you can, let's see, I'm going to get the date focused in so you can see that. It's not so easy, is it? But you might hear it rather than see it. Click, yeah, 25th. So that's what you're going to do every time you want to change the date on this 2416 movement, which exists on a £2,000 watch. This one cost rather less, as you might imagine. I think it was about £120 with all the modding and all the interesting bits on it. So there you have that. Yeah, I've watched a lot of Russian YouTube watch channels, and the comments are quite interesting, particularly about the Slava AK, where several people said, yeah, a Russian watch needs a Russian movement. I suppose, of all things, they couldn't put a foreign movement onto that. I mean, although the history of the Kalashnikov is a bit cloudy, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, we know this, but, you know, a Russian movement for a Russian watch is a patent load of old cobblers, because some of the other watches we've seen have got Japanese, or in that one case, a Chinese movement in them. So, where is the value in Russian watches? We're going to go down that rabbit hole a little bit further now. I suppose where a lot of Western watch nerds come from, much of the value of the watch should lie in its movement. Now, if we take this slightly less well-known Russian watch brand, Linkor, they've done something rather magnificent, actually. On the dial, there's a sketch of another Vladimir. This is the artist, actor and writer and poet, Vladimir Vysotsky. And you can see a nice sketch, and we love we particularly like that silver birch strap. But if you don't like that, it comes with a copy of Vysotsky's poem, Ballad to Time, and you get a couple of extra straps thrown in. Having said that, yeah, you also get some other things, like on the case back, you've got his full name, and you've got this word, handwritten word, dobro, which is apparently something Vysotsky said quite often, which means good, great, nice. But with this, you're just getting a mineral crystal on both ends, and a rather cheapish hand-wound only Chinese movement. So, you've got to balance one thing against another. The watch itself looks fantastic, and the price is not outrageous given what's coming with it. So that's something, and there are other things too. Here's another slightly less well-known Russian brand, Nika, and they build their reputation on producing precious metal cases. So you can see this one isn't particularly cheap either, but it has a 925 silver case, which is really good. And yeah, a lot of watches in Russia have a patriotic motif. But this one is quite muted. You've just got the red star, 1945 to 2025 at 6 o'clock, so that's for the 80th anniversary of Victory Day. And at 3 o'clock, you've got that black and orange thing, which is a St. George's ribbon, which represents a breath of the dragon, yes, the black being the smoke and the orange being the fire. And as I say, it's not quite so muted on the case back. I don't know if you can see that, but it says the victory in the Great Patriotic War, 1941 to 1945, and you've got 80 at the top for the 80th anniversary. So again, you see that the value is sometimes lies in other factors in the watches, and we're going to come to that in a minute. Oh, yeah, in a minute, I promise you. Let's go back to one of the first things we saw, which was this Slava Yozhik, the little hedgehog. It's quite a marvellous design, really, and you can't help but admire the work and love and attention that's gone into it. There is there's a snail and a leaf, and those are the hour and minute hands respectively, I think. So yeah, that's it. The leaf is the minute, and the snail is responsible for the hour hand reading. So it's a very responsible snail we have there. And it has a sapphire crystal, and the dial has Swarovski crystals in it. I don't know what I'd want for the price, 110,000 rubles, so it's just a little bit south of 1,000 quid. But you can see there is a lot of, some value in there. And that brings us on to another point. Essentially, that little hedgehog, that's close to £1,000, contains the same kind of movements in this Vostok hand wind only, which didn't cost 110,000 rubles, rather less. But I think the point is that this one is not a limited edition, not like the Slava Tank or the Slava AK or the little hedgehog for that matter. And I think for those, the movement's basically just something to make the hands go round to make it look like a functioning watch. And, so why do people buy these watches? Is it because they have more money than sense? Well, possibly, but I also think that they're bought as part of a collection. They are collector's items, so they might not be meant to go out on the streets on a daily basis. Or they could be a present to somebody, a presentation for some special occasion. So I think that Russian people in particular value those kinds of aspects in anything they have, and particularly in wristwatches. They do have quite a rich history of horology, right back to when they bought that American company whose name escapes me, and took all the machinery over to the Soviet Union. But that's by the by. They also tweaked a lot of things. And to say that they actually came up with something like this is fairly impressive. It might seem a bit laughably primitive nowadays, but it is an extremely interesting piece. And on that bit I've said my piece, so there. Still, I have one thing to say on the subject of movement in Russian watches. So you've got the 2428, hand wind only in the Slava. The Shturmansky Sputnik has a Polyot movement. Polyot was just the state brand. And the interesting thing to my knowledge is that neither of these movements is made anymore. So companies like Slava and Shturmansky that use some Polyot movements, they're basically delving into new old stock, which is a dwindling supply, and that's why both brands use things like Miyota movements in some of their pieces. So should we go Miyota like the Boyarov design on the left? Okay, and I've got one more thing to say about that watch. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but here's a timely reminder. This Boyarov design watch is Dmitry Boyarov, who runs Melano, and yeah, it's quite a good value. This, I think, probably cost about £170, which is, because to say it's not AliExpress is pretty decent. Nice stainless steel case, lovely dial, I think. And yeah, you've got nice sweeping high beat movement. I don't know, you probably can't see that, but there is no Russian text on the case back. It's all in English, and nowhere on the watch does it say made in Russia. Some of the other Russian watch YouTube comments I saw saying, oh, it's all Chinese nowadays, the cases and straps and this and that. It's just slapped together here in Russia. Well, all right, that's true of a lot of other countries. American watches are, lovingly assembled in the United States with parts from abroad. Well, that might be changing at the moment with the tariffs, but I bought this from inside Russia, so there's no tariffs. I don't mind, it looks rather good. I know. I'm so cheapo at heart. Well then, did I get a good deal with my 1987 Slava with the nice Russian day date on it? I think I did, because as I say, it cost about 120 quid or something. We've got the same thing as this green effort here, which is brand new, and but in fact, here's the box that the new one came in. But when I went to Chassis SSSR, it comes with, well, I'll try and show you. It's rather beautiful wooden box with a sliding lid and some straw inside. And not only that, it comes with a nice, well, medium crisp Soviet Union 10 ruble note with the 1961 on it, the year of my birth. I don't know. I think that back then you could probably buy enough ice cream for a week with that. 10 rubles nowadays, it barely buy you a box of matches. So I don't know. I mean, you take the rough with the smooth. I know the Soviet Union was a pretty grim place to live, with some pretty grim people in charge. But, you know, you could get, I don't know if I made the point, was for this, when it came out, it was probably cost about 2 weeks' salary for a skilled worker. But the modern ones now are more like, you know, 6 weeks or even 2 months. Or some of the higher end Jubilee ones, well, you forget it if you're on a wage. I don't know. Are we coming out of the rabbit hole gradually? And all we wanted was a watch with a Russian calendar. Not realising that the whole time I had one, which is my Casio calculator. You can see it says VS for Voskresenia, it being Sunday. This is exactly what the Slava says, but that says VSK. So I don't know. Dave, you big idiot! Casio God-tiered watch. Sure, Annie, I'll send you back into space. Okay, so that's that basically. I think hopefully I've given you a bit of an insight into the Russian watch rabbit hole. It's not even really a bear pit, I would say. But yeah, I've had quite a lot of fun as the fridge motor kicks in. And yeah, so I'll just leave it there. I know this is long enough as it is, so I hope you all have a beautiful Sunday. Should I say, do swidania? No, I'll say cheerio for now. Good luck.